That went a better half of the hole. I mean, you've deflected that, 0.18 of a degree, nothing. All right, guys, welcome back to the channel. Absolutely delighted to be joined today in studio by CEO of L.A.B Putters, Mr. Sam Hahn.
Thank you so much for having me, Ian.
It's a pleasure to have you back. Sam, we stood on here something around 5 years ago and met one another, and you introduced us to the putters at that stage, and we were just kind of reminiscing there of the space in between. I mean, what a ride.
There's been a lot of space in between there. Oh, it's been nuts. It's been a crazy, crazy ride, and I think about coming to see you all the time. You were kind of one of the first big deal, high profile fitters I'd ever had the chance to talk to about the stuff, and oh my, how things have changed.
No, it's incredible to see what you guys have done, the ground that's been covered. Now when I talk to people in the marketplace, how highly they speak of the putters. And the amazing thing is, you've never deviated from the plan. It's still this, the DF 2.1, still the OG,
Absolutely.
And everything is still based on that same philosophy, lie angle balance putters.
Yep, that's what we do. There's plenty of other options out there for folks to do any number of other torque profiles, but yes, we're the ones that just took that variable out of the equation.
Definitely. Well, let's dive into that. And so we've got all the putters here, and we're going to give each of them some time, but if we go to the original one, what did people think when you first showed them this? And you showed them, obviously, that this has literally no force around the face. And what did they say to you?
Yeah, people were mortified by something, so massive, so goofy looking. You got the crooked grip and the onset face and this bulbous tush, and it was people had fairly visceral reactions to it for a long time. But if I had a revealer, okay, so there's a reason it looks like that. There's a reason the grip is crooked. There's a reason that it's so big. And then it started to make some sense to people. And even if they didn't like it, even after seeing the revealer, if you're a golf fan and you just see a demonstration of a putter that's literally staying square by itself, like, you can't not be a little intrigued. Yeah. And I was the same way. I saw it, the guy who showed us me is a guy named Bob Duncan, awesome instructor. He lives in Bend, Oregon now, and he knew I was a total putter psychopath. Brought me over at a time I was using a Napa, a tiny little rusty.
The other end of the scale.
Totally. And he shows me this thing. I'm like, Bob, come on, man. Yeah. I'm not touching that thing. And he, made me give him 9 holes with it, and it blew my mind. Just absolutely blew my mind instantly. And I think for most people it does.
So we started with this, and we'll take a deeper dive, but we sort of, you stayed with basically this for basically quite some time. And then sort of would have been about 2.5 or so years ago, Mezz kind of came out, and I remember you sent me one, and I really loved the feel of this. Immediately, I remember putting with it thinking this feels amazing. Yeah. Quite different in feel to the DF, but I really, really liked this guy. And this has been quite a popular one for you on tour. Huge.
I mean, the tour player is no different than you or me. They don't want to show up and get made fun of their friends pulling out a big giant spaceship out of their bag. I was actually just talking with a fella named JT Griffin, who, normally there's kind of tongue-in-cheek conversations about not wanting to pull that thing out of your bag, but he used it for a couple of events. And we were just talking about it last week, and I asked him what got it out of the bag, and he was just as candid as can be. He was I was just embarrassed, every single time I miss a 4-footer, where if I have my Newport, nobody even thinks about it, but you miss a 4-footer with a branding iron, and people start, wondering what you're doing. And then this thing came out, and it was, subtle enough, smaller, that much smaller that this was not viewed as much of it as a crutch or the way that people thought of the DF.
Yeah. I mean, there's lots of putters that have this shape. Odyssey have a popular one. Scotty have a popular one, and that kind of dimension. So yeah, that's definitely getting closer. And then
that one we wanted to do. One of the things that was funny early on is the DF. The good part about it for us was that you can see it from 4 holes over, and so we had a bit of a rep for being, kind of out there. We wanted to do something traditional, so kind of wanted to model that number 7 shape, but we hired a guy named John Berquist to design that Mezz putter. It's awesome. Weird enough to be a lab, but fangy enough and normal enough to not get made fun of quite as much.
Definitely. How big of a challenge was it to try to then replicate something that was in the mold of your traditional heel-toe balance putter with the type of, obviously, the physics involved with being lie angle balanced?
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah, I would imagine.
What a lot of people, these are way, way more difficult to balance. The further away we can get from the shaft axis with weight, the easier time we have getting them balanced. These things are really finicky.
Right.
So even though it looks a little rugged, us kind of just bolting the hosel onto the back there's a reason behind it. We need to move that mill of nothings in order to accommodate different lies and still keep the sweet spot in the middle of the putter.
Yeah.
Still be able to target swing weights, and then most importantly, still get them balanced.
Right.
But because the weights are so close to the shaft axis, it's really, really tough. This thing took us 2.5 years to get it to where, I mean, like we had some prototypes that worked that just simply weren't manufacturable. We couldn't balance them. They're just, taking 45 minutes to balance, 30 minutes to balance, and it's just didn't work. So yeah, it was a challenge, and we're really, really proud of it.
And has this made it easier for you then to try and sort of break into the people who are maybe doubters that I could never use a shape like that? Because this from 10, 15 foot away, and you see the back of it.
Looks like 2.6.
Yeah. You're just writing putters that look like other companies have.
Totally. Yeah, I think it made it a lot easier. I call it a gateway drug.
Yeah.
People who are interested enough in the tech and seen enough of the revealer demonstrations to at least be intrigued by a self-squaring putter.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is one that they can step into without, too much of a concern over the vanity issues or any of that. It feels really good too. It's not, it's the first non-aluminum putter we made besides the B2.
Right.
And so it's a familiar feel. There's also no shaft lean, which enables us to use the straight grip. A lot of people love the press grip,
sure.
But some people don't, because there's no way to get tilt in a press grip without making it a little bigger.
Yeah.
And with this one, straight shafts, we were able to make a straight grip on it. So there's a lot more familiarity for people to kind of step into it. What I will say about the Link, the smaller the footprint, the less obvious the tech feels in your hand.
Right.
Like you can still, like if you try and start steering a DF, you're gonna struggle.
Yeah.
You just really have to let it do its thing. You can steer this, but you don't want to.
Right.
Like we don't want people, steering it. So sometimes people will get this one and put it in play without really letting the technology lead them to the sort of subtle adjustments that you need to make in order to really get the most out of the technology. But it's an awesome putter. It's such an awesome putter, and it's been interesting. Some of the people that really, really struggled with the DF are able to use that with quite a bit of success.
So, and as much as all of those three have enough talking points, I would say for me the one I've been asked the most questions about is this one.
This is the most DM'd question putter in my Instagram every week.
Yeah.
One, do you guys have it? Two, a lot of people ask how
Really?
do you fit it?
How do you fit all the time?
And three, people are now starting, now that we have them, our fitting staff, they're all over. One of our guys is like, he struggles with putting. He's been rolling this. I mean, he's on the hook.
Yeah.
This thing gets a lot of love in the DMs.
It's an unbelievable piece of equipment, and it's just been so interesting watching the broomstick madness that has just taken over golf. I've worked with Adam Scott for a long time. He was the first kind of high-profile professional to ever put one in play. It was actually a conventional Link DF was the first one he tried. I think that a lot of people don't notice Adam with a broom because they're used to it. They've seen him with a broom forever. And so it wasn't until, Lucas, who had, this incredible struggle with yipping the short putters and everything, and just watching this thing change his life completely.
Back-to-back for him too.
2 back-to-back wins, and the other part of the people missing that story, he had 5 straight top sixes before those 2 wins.
Right.
He was
just on a tear.
On a tear. And so, it kind of got, normalized a little bit. And there's so many first-time broomstickers out there now. So we had sold from January 1st to July 31st last year, we had sold a total of about 150 broomsticks.
Right.
August, we sold 2,700. And there's no way that these were people that the vast majority of them were doing it for the first time. And so it's a whole crazy thing figuring out how to get these things fit. The good news is it's actually really, really easy. It's probably the easiest putter to fit because torque profile is all taken care of because that's what we do. We just lie angle balance it. Two, generally, the vast, vast majority of people who try this technique want it maximum upright. That's the whole idea, is to get the shaft as upright as is legally possible, take all the depth out of the arc, so it really, really feels super, super duper square. So all that's left is length. And in length, kind of the same thing we say with the process on our shorter putters. It's just comfort is king. Like we're not, you know, it's so much less of a scientific process with our stuff. We're just trying to get you cozy. And so some people, you know, they're going to end up somewhere between sort of like Bernhard Langer posture, who's standing straight up. It's pretty close to his chin, a lot of angle right here. He has to work to kind of keep his forearm off of his rib cage there, because that's not legal, which I found out after spending 6 months putting like this and kicking ass. Or, you know, over to your Adam Scott, you know, who's really, and Lucas, who are really framed up. Lucas kind of in between with the elbow here.
I've had lots of people asking me that position on the sort of, you know, lead elbow. Do you like that down the target line? Do you like it tucked a little bit?
I'm a target line.
Yeah, we debated it.
It feels more stable down the target line.
I'm like, I can see why, if you create that sort of, it makes sense, but I kind of felt a little bit more comfortable having myself a little bit more compact, because obviously I putt that way. You know, so I'm used to sort of that compact setup. But it sparked a pretty cool debate amongst our guys last Friday night or whatever it was. We were all kind of putting with it, and it was really fun to discuss something new.
For sure, and it is really new. There is no technique, there's no curriculum around it at all. You know, like people are making this stuff up as they go along. Yes, there's been a couple of broomstick people throughout the years, and they've just found their own way with it. There wasn't an instructor that was saying, this is how you do it. The elbow piece, you remember our buddy Zach Kuzahowski?
Yeah, of course.
So Zach's been broomsticking for a very long time.
Right, okay.
And like, so he actually goes past the target this way. And I kind of get that, because that really locks you out. Like, there's just not a lot of motion there. At the target, I think people find comfort in, people love straight lines, right? They love straight lines. And so I think, you know, like, just to know that there's a checkpoint of like, okay, the forearm is parallel to the ground and the elbow is
your aim line.
Exactly. And so I think there's just some comfort in knowing you're going to do it the same way every time. I haven't seen a biomechanical benefit to doing it one way or another. And I'm similar to you. I use a longer one. I'm pretty narrow with my stance. I'm very relaxed with my setup. And for me, the whole stroke is driven by the right hand and right arm. And then these guys are kind of more driven by, you know, back and shoulders, core. And there's no right answer. You can do it however you want.
Well, we're going to dive into it. It deserves a video of its own, and we're going to do that today. I mean, it is one because I think it's going to gather so much attention. But of the series we're going to do together with you today, Sam, like, I'd love to go into, you know, the range first. Let's have a little putt with all of them, introduce our audience to all of them, and then let's talk about this guy specifically. Let's kind of spend some time on Broom and why, you know, there's probably going to be a significant migration over to this style of putter.
Already has been.
That's happening. Yes, it's going to get on the train. And like we were chatting about with kind of Mo and social media on the weekend, the amount of people that said, you know, finally you guys are acknowledging that you know, the Broom is a legitimate way to putt. I've been doing it for this amount of time, and I love it. It was shocking to me. Honestly, it was shocking. So let's dive into that.
Let's do it.
Okay. All right, Michael. Well, we've got you set up with the Link.
Similar to, I mean, it's a blade shape, which is nice. When we talked about it earlier, guys were embarrassed, you know, missing 4-footers with their buddies. I've been a blade guy. You sent me one of the original ones way back in the day, and I missed a couple of putts of it, and I was like, I better put this back in the car.
The original blade or the original DF?
The original DF.
Yeah, that's what it is. And what's funny too is that the whole point of the tech is just exactly the opposite. If you're missing start lines, we know it isn't the putter.
Right.
That's, you know, that's the beauty.
So we know you've been trying to work a little bit on your stroke, Mikey, and sort of as we look at this and sort of we dial you into one of these putters, we've got you a little bit into it. So if we look at your path, so what's quite nice is sort of where you're getting, or sort of how long the face is staying square and where it's square. The square part is before impact. So you were really good in this little window we're just kind of getting it a little bit shut by the time it gets back to square. Let's look at your delivery. Shaft lean is a touch forward. Okay. The rate of rotation at 30 degrees. So let's take out a little bit of that path, because we know the hook spin is not toe strike.
Yeah.
Right, because you're actually hitting it dead flush in the middle. So let's neutralize that path just a little bit. And Sam, you made a great point earlier on. You said whether people day one have the right face to path relationship with this thing or not, you know that when they come back in a couple of weeks' time having used it, it will almost have self-corrected the putting stroke.
100%. The putter literally leads you to a better stroke, and particularly with some of the really, really simple things that we have people do, and you can even try it. Like thing number one, hit a couple putts like this with your thumbs off the putter. Body's going to start to learn that you don't have to manipulate this thing and steer it through impact. And
be a human revealer.
Yeah, exactly. And everything just sort of starts to relax a little bit. And yes, it does improve. So, most of the time, people do test pretty well in a vacuum like this.
Right.
But the ones that don't, that's always what I want to see. Like, just go give me 2 weeks. I'm not even going to say a word.
Yeah.
And you're going to figure it out, because like the biggest thing that improves, particularly with some of the bigger heads, the DF, DF3, Mezz Max, is people's alignment. That putter's working so hard to square up that if you're not aimed properly, you're going to struggle. And if you don't, and you can not say a word to people, and they just all of a sudden start to zero themselves into straight.
Like we say a lot of that in our fittings, like alignment's rough. He did a fit last week, and the guy rolled a few, and he's like, so what do you think? And Ian's like, well, first things first, we're gonna get you lined up. He goes, because right now you're aimed over there and the hole's over there. This isn't gonna solve anything other than your alignment. And the boy ended up getting into something, but right out of the gates, he kept saying, he's like, my alignment's so weird, because it's so drastically different. We find a lot of customers' alignment is
and 99% of all torque profiles on conventional putters, they do different stuff on the way back. They all try to open on the way through.
Right.
Amateurs in general, higher handicaps and stuff, what I noticed to compensate aim left. The touring professionals, the guys that are good at it, they actually do the opposite. They aim right because they want to feel that they have more room to release it through impact.
One thing when, watched Sam hit a couple earlier on, I could just see that lovely little lift the ball had. And, I think, that's, let's see, angle attack, there we go.
Yeah,
so moving in the right direction. So you still kept your shaft lean, you're moving in the right direction. That's nicely moving down. We're coming less, that's not an awful lot of rotation. If we look at the 16 inches that we've got, look at those dots by the time it gets, we're, just to give a value to that side spin, when people can get worried that that's a red number, well, you tell me if you think those dots have twisted in the kind of foot and a half or so that we're going to watch this thing. Right, it has a lovely bit of lift, very stable all the way down. Okay, had a little bit of lift, little more lift there.
I feel like I was looking behind the ball.
And you can see, you changed it 1.5 degrees from the previous one, but you're still only 0.5 degree up.
Yeah.
Numbers are nice in here. Okay, still dropping those hands a little bit, which is delivering the putter toe up. Contributing a little bit to the face angle being left, we're tilting the dynamic lie angle up, so that's why we're getting that kind of little left start line. If we kind of go into the push-pull ratio, we can see you're just starting a little too left, right? So you're nice and stable up until about 9-10 feet, and then it's just getting away from you a little bit. You're catching the left edge.
This size is definitely more manageable for
sure.
a mallet.
That sounded flush.
A bit more launch there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We're asking you to put the ball further forward in your stance. This is probably the one that you could actually probably get away with having it where you were.
Right, okay.
And it's,
Let's see.
Yeah, the CG's, I guess, technically a little bit further back, so whether that kind of leads you to deliver it a little more forward. Let's see.
Dropping the hands a lot less, too.
That went a better half of the hole.
That's out of the heel, 100%.
So your interpretation of where the heel is, though, I mean, that's came out a marginal heel strike. You probably felt that was a lot, didn't you?
I said, like, I felt like I was aiming outside of the grooves.
So, I mean, you've deflected that, 0.18 of a degree, nothing. You've actually countered your face to path delivery really, really nicely there. Probably the best one. You see that a lot with people dropping their hands at sort of impact, Sam? You see that a little bit as something people do?
Not specifically, no. I think sometimes if people are coming from a putter where the CG's further out on the toe relative to the shaft, not relative to the center of the putter, sure, it's going to kind of push it down a little bit. But no, I mean, I think you're forcing yourself into ulnar deviation when your body doesn't actually want you to be.
Right. See that? I mean, that is it's fascinating. Look at this. I mean, in terms of square space, I mean,
A lot of it.
all of it, 1.2. I mean, it was a little closed, so it went in kind of the left half, but you're basically the same value, face value at 3 inches prior as you were 3 inches after.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a true unicorn. You very rarely, you ever see somebody who kind of has the face do that? Where it's almost like they kind of close it to open.
Yeah.
I mean, that's such a rare amount there to be 1 degree of
Face rotation between over
and it's
6
actually
inches.
the other way. It's
That's what
actually
good players do.
okay. Good. I mean, certainly delivery of the lie angle.
Way better.
Yep, much better. What does it feel like to swing this? Do you feel like you're swinging it freely, or are you still trying to manipulate the face?
I feel like I'm still trying to manipulate.
That's what it looks like, doesn't it?
Totally.
Like,
yeah, I mean, there's no part of that putter's wanting
any
to do
force on
that.
it. Yeah.
You know.
This is the, like, going from, we were laughing about, like, torque and stuff, but from what you and I have talked about, hitting these baby draws, trying to hit out of the heel, like, working on that, you'd almost want to, in that putting green we were talking about earlier, you'd want to go roll every single style of putt you can with something like this to really click into the difference.
Do it like that. Shoulder blade, that's the only thing moving the putter.
What did you feel there when you went?
Like, I just didn't feel like I gave it enough steam, to be honest with you. More afraid to give it pace.
It's pretty damn good. Just a little from the inside. I always think about L.A.B putters, Sam, a bit like the X100, right? We know the X100 isn't right for everyone, and the style of putter that people use right now isn't right probably for them.
Sure.
But people are so conditioned to putting with the style of putter that you've got, and tour players are so conditioned to the X100. They just always have to kind of go back to what they can't convince themselves isn't right. Whereas
for sure, Mikey, and that's been the whole trick for us.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been the whole thing, and why it's been so slow on tour. Somebody's journey to letting a lie angle balance putter do its thing, like across the board. The better the player you are, the longer that takes.
Right.
Like every time, because we're just so conditioned, we're just so used to it.
Right.
And it does take a second, and that's why, like, it's been really fun, with the success we're having on tour, the marketing and all the stuff where people are seeing this and they're interested enough to give it a try. Because if you just come and do this, sometimes you're going to get really good results, but a lot of times you're not. Somebody made an interesting Instagram comment at me the other day. He said, so it sounds like you guys are trying to fit golfers to a putter rather than fit a putter to a golfer. And I totally understand what he was saying,
right.
you know, because like, yeah, I'm out there saying this is universally better, and I really do believe that it is.
Right.
I do believe that if putting instruction had started with L.A.B balanced putters, if people started with these putters, all of the different things that we do to manage the face and control the face or whatever just wouldn't be a thing. And so, yes, on a certain level, that guy was right. We do believe that, you know, anybody that grabs this thing, it's eventually going to lead them to having a much easier time making putts and keeping the face square. But it could take a second for Sam.
It'll be interesting again in another 5 years. We're talking about, you know, from 5 years when we first did and kind of, you know, you introduced us to the line in another 5 years. What does it look like in the landscape of fitting to these putters? Totally. I used a tool when I was down at Super Speed headquarters in Utah. I used something called Sensor's Edge. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
So Sensor's Edge is basically, it tells you how much and where and when you're putting pressure into the grip. So in terms of like almost starting off the process with something like Sensor's Edge, okay, let's learn what you do to the handle, and you sort of go in there and you go, okay, Mikey, let's build a profile of what you do to the handle. Mikey's kind of, I can see it from sitting there, Mikey's doing this to the handle. Right. He's not letting that stay neutral at all. You're tilting so the putter tilts inwards counterclockwise, and then it opens clockwise in the way through, and start to see those forces and torques and understand, you know, at that point, okay, this is how we're going to, you know, take the torque out of the equation. Right. We have to kind of get some counter feels. I just want to roll a couple because Mikey and I have got quite different strokes. I want to see kind of, I haven't putted with the 3 yet. I want to get a little feel for, I really like the more compact shape. I think I've always liked that more compact shape. Yeah, pretty neutral, face a fraction open. Just launched on me a little bit. And yeah, so I think we were talking earlier about the grip. And, you know, I was in the 3 when I first got into the DF 2.1. So, I mean, I think of all the numbers there, if we can just get a little more press on that. 3 degree might be a good option for you. Yeah.
Or just scoot it back a half inch.
Your shaft angle is?
Just a hair back.
Hair back, yeah.
Getting a little drippy, guys. Negative 16.
Face rotation, yeah. Yeah, so I just need to get better at leaning that shaft a little bit more. I mean, everything else looks pretty good. A little up on it. Face angle's really good. That's low rotation for me.
Yeah.
0.16. I mean, I'm normally a lot higher than that.
I like the attacking. I think I would just put you into a 3 degree grip instead of 2.
Yeah, that's literally it, isn't it?
That's it.
Into the 3 degree and then off you go. No, that feels fantastic. That feels really, really good.
You see one? If L.A.B balanced putters were first.
Beautiful. Yes. How wacky it would seem.
Somebody comes up and is like, no, this one flops all over the place when I'm doing it, and it'd be so interesting to see what instruction would be like at this point, and what curriculum would be like.
You and I can share. A putter palette. Yeah, that's an almost identical putter to the one I just hit. It's the same rotation, same launch, nice little bit of forward rotation.
I'm much flatter.
All right, Michael, thank you for being our test subject there.
No worries. Hopefully there's 1 or 2 good putts in there.
There definitely was. But I just think to the conversation as to why people ask so many questions about L.A.B putters and the style of putter and why, you know, sort of L.A.B balance and having torque free, having the face torque free. This is a great example. Yeah. The 3 of us have putted, and we've all got our own way of doing it very, very differently. And you're a challenge when it comes to the type of putter. You're very institutionalized into that style of putter. Yeah. Trying to get you out of that is a real battle.
Yeah, especially, I mean, I know I'm stubborn, but previously, like, I'm not the greatest putter, but I'm a hell of a lot better than what I was 4 or 5 years ago.
Right.
After we worked on trying to get more inside. So now that I've ingrained that, to switch it is like, it's gonna, like you said, the 2 weeks thing. You really need to kind of go take it and give it its honeymoon, so you can, you know, see it work.
Yeah, we've got the revealer around here somewhere. Like, I almost want you to just go putt with the revealer for a couple of weeks.
Sure.
Like, just
Well,
literally
organize your shoulders in a way that's totally different than ways moving.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what was also interesting. The more stable the putter that we put you in, the worse it got.
Yeah, I realized that.
Yeah.
So the Link, you had the ability to manipulate because of the smaller footprint. And then, we started getting into this one.
Mezz Max.
Mezz Max, you know, where they were more stable. And I know, like, I mean, look, you know, obviously I'm pretty biased on how these things work and why I think people should be using them. That's actually not a bad thing. That's exposing the reality of what your body's trying to do. And like, we get, you know, one of the more interesting things that happens online, people will be like, I got this putter, I'm in, I really like it, but I'm missing everything to the right. Or I'm missing everything to the left. And one of the things that I try to, you know, explain to people, like, that's a good thing. It's infuriating to miss the same putt over and over again on the right edge. But generally, singular miss means singular fix. So it's going to expose the realities of the way that you move the putter in a way that a putter that, you know, torques all over the place at, you know, different rates and different speeds and everything, is going to be hard to kind of zero in on what's actually going on. So, I appreciate you giving it a college try.
No worries.
There's so much to unpack. I mean, guys, this could have been the longest episode in the history of the channel. It really could have by the time because we never even talked about shafts and we touched a little bit in the grip, but, you know, there's so many other pieces. You've built a putter, Sam, that literally takes into account every component, which I don't think a lot of companies truly do. They don't really they think about a grip that people will like the feel of, not really one that will functionally perform the shaft and the role of it and what it does. I mean, you guys have went out there, sought the best you could find, partnered with the absolute best companies that you possibly could, because you believe in this. So you have to let this and this be as good as it can be in order to obviously let the head perform.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely.
I love it. Okay, guys, you know, this is going to be a multi-part series. It has no choice but to be a multi-part series because there's so much to uncover here. But hopefully this deep dive, our first in the series, will help you discover, if it's not L.A.B putters for the first time, it'll help you discover a little bit about what it's all about, and hopefully just nudge your curiosity enough to go out and give it a try for yourself. So we appreciate you watching. Stay tuned for more, and we'll see you again soon.